Hey, hey, hey! What day is today? It's a podcast day. What podcast, you may say? IM-MYI-GRANT podcast. My podcast, it's about artist immigrants. My name is Aurelia. Almost everybody called me Rally. And I'm an immigrant artist too. And I decided to talk with artist immigrants all over the world. And I want to know their stories. So don't waste the time now and see the next guest of my podcast, a very exceptional artist who lives in Montreal. She came from Mexico, more precisely from Mexico City. Her name is FLAVIA HEVIA. So, welcome, FLAVIA.
Hi, thanks. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm great. I'm doing good. And you?
I'm very excited to talk with you and to hear your story.
Great.
Because yes, as I said, here we hear a lot of stories, interesting stories. So let's chat a little bit with you too. So, how was your day today?
It was good. It was good. Thursdays are a good day for me because I am able to connect with some women, like artists, Mexican artists, and I take a Zoom workshop, painting workshop. I used to take that workshop when I was in Mexico. And since the pandemic, my friend Isabel Leñero, that she's an amazing and very talented artist and a great teacher, she started doing it by Zoom. So I was able to start, going back to taking this workshop that it's one of the things that I missed the most since I've been here.
Okay.
So yeah, it was great. It was like, it's good.
Good. So you started the day, with a good feeling.
Yes. Well, I started cleaning my house and doing my house, and then after I did the Zoom. But yeah, it was great. It's
Okay.
always great. And I see the projects of the other, well, they're my friends, and also there are other painters, and they're in different places. Like not all of them. I'm in Mexico City. There's one in the States and one in New York. Well, one in
So all over the world.
Yeah. So that's really cool. And we talk about art, and we talk about books, and so it's really good. It's really good.
Good. So tell me something about you. In what's your artistic field? Because you are talking about the friends of yours. You are doing the workshop painters, but what are you doing exactly?
Well, I do different stuff, and that's been always my life. I when I was a child, I wanted to. I guess I was going to be a painter. So, and I loved to draw and stuff. And then, when I was 11 years old, we went to see a show. No, I was 10, and we went to see Little Women, and the play. And the director saw me and said, "Do you want to play Amy, the youngest child, the youngest kid of Little Women?" So I said, yes, of course, but Mrs. But you have to be 11. So the whole year I was like waiting, and told my mother I really want to do this. So this director was actually, well, he was very smart, because what he did, he had the cast, but they were not just one Amy. We were like different Amy's and different Joes and stuff. So
He had backups.
yeah, we have like different casts. So that was how I started doing theater, but I kept on painting. And so, yeah, so the first thing that I did was like in theater was acting. But I also I was painting, and I was doing etching, and I was doing all this kinds of stuff. So also I was kind of always turned between the both, and people will tell me, yeah, you have to figure it out because you cannot do both, and
Yeah.
because they're demanding. And I went to theater school, acting actually, in Mexico. And so I was always doing these two things, painting,
Okay.
visual arts, and I also was doing art boxes, and I put lights in the art boxes. I like all the time I needed to be creating things. So in when I was at the acting school, I was always like helping the director and putting the set and stuff like that. So I also realized that I liked being backstage as well. I always tell the story that I was acting in a play,
Mhm.
and I was waiting between the legs, and then I was exactly like in between the both worlds, like the real world that it was the theater. And
You liked to know what's happening in the two.
yeah, I kind of like I was looking at the stage, and it was full of smoke, and it was like it was a great stage, it was a great design and set design, and I said I think I want to create that world rather
Nice.
than be an actor. And so I started to go there, and I also thought maybe it will help me getting together also, the visual arts part. I never left the visual arts. I always do it at the same time because I really enjoy also the solitude of visual arts.
Uh-huh.
So I think I'm all the time I've been doing both. So then I started to be an assistant, because at that time there was set and lighting designs in Mexico, a school in Mexico, but wasn't that good. So what I did is that I started like the very old way. I started to be an assistant of um, set and lighting designers.
So you did lighting and set design, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I started doing set and lights. The first times that my first lighting design, I actually didn't know what I was doing, and that was good because
It's
you
you
don't know
are
what you're
learning.
doing, so you just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the good thing of not knowing certain things. So yeah, I started doing both, and I started going more backstage. Actually,
Okay.
I was more a set and line designer for almost and keep on painting with the workshop that I with Isabel, and doing the art objects, and with another very good friend of mine, an amazing artist, Gianni Pecanins. And so I was always like doing those kind of stuff.
So you were more expanding, if we can say that, to the design and light design, right? Set and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I was the last years of my career in Mexico. I was mostly I was designing and doing and painting and doing those kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So you did theater like an actress, and after that you go backstage and did the light design and set. And at one point in your life, you decided to immigrate, right?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Well, I was also working in very big festival, like a big festival in Mexico, an international festival that is called the Cervantino Festival. And there I was doing more. I was part of the technical production. Like we were all young, and we will taking part. Like we will take care of all the demands of the companies that will come to
Because
to
it's
the
an
festival.
international festival, right?
Yeah, yeah, and mostly technical, like the lights
Mhm.
on the set and stuff like that. Uh, I was doing that also because by the time mostly lights, there were not a lot of schools, and there was not where you can learn.
So you learn
So
doing it.
yes, you
You had
learn
the
doing
opportunity
a
to
lot of
do it.
mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
So and sometimes you don't even know you're doing a mistake. So yeah. So I always wanted to leave Mexico, but mostly to study. Like that was my idea. Like I always wanted to go and or live, this perfect like you can live for 2 years or 1 year somewhere else, and then somewhere else, and do stuff like
Yeah,
in
yeah,
different
yeah.
places. And I always thought that I needed to learn more, like that I mostly in lights and light design. So in this festival, I had an affair with the production manager of one of the companies that went to Mexico, Canadian.
Mhm. Canadian, okay.
Yeah, Canadian. And well, that affair turned down into more like really a relationship. So I
So
said,
you
okay.
were in touch. He came to Canada and you
He
stayed
came
in.
back. Yeah, yeah. Well, he lives in Montreal.
Okay.
He lives in Montreal. So, well, we're still together after 20 years.
Well,
So, yeah, yeah. So,
was love that brought you to
yeah,
Canada.
yeah. It's like one of those that you never,
It
like,
was
like, I was in a point in my life that I didn't want to have a relationship. And
and
no.
it was a love relationship with a package, with a
Yeah, because I was like, okay, I always wanted to study somewhere else, so I came and visited him in Montreal, and I was okay. If I come here, I don't want to, because I was 33 years old, so I was old.
yeah,
Um, so I was like, okay, I don't want to just come and be with the guy because that I knew it will be a disaster for me. You
yeah.
know?
I have to do
Uh,
something.
yeah, because I was like, I cannot stop creating because
Exactly. This
it
is
will be
what you
awful.
know.
Yeah. So I came and I checked two stuff. I checked Concordia for a certificate that it was like mostly my other part, like doing art objects, but putting the computer internet digital, and the other one was a program in the National Theatre School that it was lighting design program
Mhm.
that it was a year.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was there. So
Oh,
I applied to both,
okay.
and they accept me to both. So
Perfect.
I had to
To choose.
choose.
Okay, you did only one. You couldn't do both of them.
No, no, I
Okay.
couldn't. Well, for money, for time,
Yeah,
for everything.
yeah, for sure.
So I realized like the one of my friends told me which of both is the one that is giving you have given you more money, like more work.
Yeah, after. Yeah.
No, in Mexico to decide between both, and it was theater. So I was like, okay, I'm going for the National Theatre School. So I decided the National Theatre School, and I went for a year. I took the line and specialization program
Mm-hmm.
at the National Theatre School, and I asked for a grant in Mexico to study out of Mexico. So I got the grant, and
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to interrupt because you came here, but you didn't had any statute for being here. You weren't a resident or a citizen, right? So
no,
you had
I was
to
a
come.
student.
Yeah, you had to come with a grant for studying.
Yeah, I had to. Well, I asked for a grant to help me pay the school because
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay as an immigrant.
Yeah.
You pay double or even sometimes even
Yeah, yeah,
more
I know. That's right,
than
because you are not a citizen or a resident, you pay
exactly.
more.
You pay more.
But, yeah.
So I asked for a grant from Culture, the cultural organization in Mexico government, to pay the school, the National Theatre School. And I came here to live with my partner, my still partner, Greg. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do both. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go for a year and study. That's always what I wanted to do. And if it works with this guy, great. If it not, I have to school, go
And
back.
if not, you finish the school and go back
And
to
go back to
Mexico.
Mexico, you
Oh,
know.
okay. So
So,
you had that in mind.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was 30, so I already kind of knew that, you know, yeah, I was not that naive in love. I already had other relationships, and
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the decision of doing the school here
mhm,
and continuing your artistic
yeah,
path. So you had in
yeah,
mind that you will come back in Mexico if it's not working, your
with
relationship.
with
I
my love,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Because I always knew that it was going to be very difficult to keep on going, like being an artist or keep on doing art or
Yes.
as an immigrant. It's like I knew it was going to be super hard.
Yes.
So
This, I
and
think, every immigrant artist know that. So
yeah,
tell me, how did you continue? So you are still in Canada. So how
yeah.
did it
So I finished
continue?
school and it worked out with Greg. So I decided, okay, I'm going to stay. So we started working together with but they start like that's when they start giving me. I got a job, but as a backstage person, like not designing, being backstage,
Okay. But
and I started
you
working
were there. So
as a
you were there.
technician here in
You
Montreal.
are there on the stage, I mean, in the backstage, but you are there. You are working.
Yeah, I was working. I was working in theater, but I was working more as a technician and backstage.
Yeah.
It was hard because I'm small, and the working height
Yeah.
for lights, it was for me, it was super high, and the other ones it was
Technique in the stage, it's very
yeah,
difficult.
yeah, no, and
Yeah.
it's a very hard work, very
Yeah.
very, very physical hard work, and you're not signing, it's you're pulling cables and stuff. That it has a great part. But and I was working on theater, but it was, you have to carry lights and stuff and things like
Yeah,
that.
I think it's a little bit difficult. How much time you did that?
I worked. I finished the national school, and I work in different places during the like for I'm thinking like 5 or 6 months. But then I had I applied for a work that is more backstage.
Mm-hmm.
It was more backstage, like preparing the props and everything's ready at the back with the company. By then, they were like, it was their first play, their first show, and now they're super famous. But it's the Seven Fingers of the Hand, C'est toi la main. That is
Uh-huh.
a very important um, company, circus company. And Greg was working as artistic production with them, and I got the job as working backstage. So I started touring with them for. It was great because we were touring together as a couple, Greg and
Mm-hmm.
I. And I was working backstage, and I learned a lot. And then because I liked the lights, I will stay after and help Jean Laurent. That he was the lighting designer of the show. So to learn more and to because I love lights. So after that, the moment Jean decided he didn't want to tour anymore with the show. The show was called Loft.
Okay.
And so he said, okay, why don't you be the lighting director of the show? So I became the lighting director of the show, and I toured with them as a lighting director and with Greg. So we toured all over the world with Loft. So it was great.
Great. So
Yeah, no, it's actually
all
pretty
over
good.
the world with the show.
Yeah, and then after that, they started doing a new show, and in the new show, I did the set design. That the show is called Traces, also with the seven fingers, the Setois.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, after that, I talked to Greg, and yeah. And then what happened? Oh, okay. So because we were touring, and then we went to Berlin, and we were at Berlin with one of the shows of the Fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And the company in Berlin decided that they wanted to hire Greg, my partner.
Yeah. So
So
to move
they
to
hired
Berlin.
Greg, but we were going back and forward, and we started working with the company in Berlin. We stopped working with the Fingers, and then we started working with this company in Berlin. and we did a show that it was called My Life.
Okay.
I did the lighting design. And I'm gonna try to do faster so we can go faster to now.
Yeah.
So we did My Life, and from My Life there was a small part that it was in between numbers, because it was a circus show also. So in between numbers there was this performer that he had an idea to do physical theater in a small box.
Uh-huh.
So from there, the producer in Berlin decided that he wanted to do a whole show with that
Great.
idea.
Great. Yeah.
So with the performance called Toby. So they hire one of a great director here, a stage director here, theater director called Daniel Briere. So Daniel Briere directed Leo. It's a solo show with Toby, that he was a performer, and my partner Greg was the artistic producer, and I did the set and the lights. I decided set and lights. So Leo was open in 2011 in Edinburgh at the French, and we got 3 awards, and it became a very big success. And then we went to New York, and Leo keeps on touring. Well, not with pandemic, but Leo until now, it's been a very successful show. Like Leo, it's been an amazing experience.
Great.
Yeah.
And
in the meantime, I still did some other designs. I still did like mostly lights and set. But I liked in Mexico, like being a designer in Mexico, you're involved a lot with the creation and the creation process, and that's because of a designer in Mexico called Alejandro Luna, that he's set the lighting designer, and he's amazing. And so you're more involved with the creation process. Here it's like more separate. And I was having a lot of trouble with that. Like for me, it was very hard to not feel involved with the show. That it was kind of like very, it started to be very hard for me, and I needed more. Because of all the touring and everything that was happening was amazing, but I didn't have time to do my other stuff. I was not painting. I was not doing other things.
This is taking all your time and all your energy, so you cannot really doing everything. That's true.
And I started touring with Leo, and I was a lighting director of Leo. But when you become a lighting director, like you do the show, like I'm in the console, and you're designing the lights, but also it's a tech. It's very technical as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted, and you have to deal a lot with technicians. So you deal a lot with the
different personalities.
No, mostly macho things. Like they're all men. Now it's changing. Now you have seen there's a lot more women immigrants. Women technicians. I'm sorry, but there were a lot of men, and so dealing with the macho stuff. Being a woman and also being an immigrant, for example, in Germany, was very hard, because also, I always say that it was kind of, you always have to prove yourself every time that I arrive in a new space.
Yeah.
Because you're a woman, and and I'm from Mexico, like a third world country, so it becomes very tiring. Like I start to get like very tired.
Yeah. It's too demanding, and it's hard.
Yeah, and one of the first things that I wanted to do in my life was puppetry. Funny enough, it was puppetry when I was starting to do my career in theater, but there was not a lot of puppetry in Mexico at that time. So, funny enough, one of the first grants that I asked in Mexico, that the system is very similar than France and here, it was for doing puppets, and I didn't get the grant, and there was no school, so I kind of like, okay, so I'm gonna do other things. But So I was designing a show. I was designing a show in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
and the the person that I stayed, Heather Kent, like she's a puppeteer, and she worked in the school that I was doing this plays, and she showed me an object.
This school was in Toronto?
Yes, it's called
Okay.
Humber.
Okay.
Humber College. I was designing a show there. I was doing
Mm-hmm.
set. No, I was doing lights. Sorry, I always did lights at Humber.
Okay.
And I also met the director, Kerr Wells. That with him, I did a lot of shows. We did shows here in Montreal, and so I've been very lucky that I'm always been working. And I do have to say, mostly was because I went to the National Theatre School.
Okay.
Yeah, because work like studying at the National Theatre School of Canada does help you a lot. As
That's good to know. That's good to know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the Canadian experience, and mostly this is changing, and I think we're gonna talk about it later. But this is changing now. But in the moment that I arrived, that I was like 19 years ago, it was extremely hard. Like it was like nothing that you have done before mattered. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that you were designing or you were doing stuff, didn't
It's
matter.
okay.
So
You
it,
started from zero.
yeah, yeah. So
But
it
I think in the same time, the experience that you had helped you to go through this school, right? Because you weren't like you know nothing. You knew something.
yeah,
This you were working in the theater, so you had some information, some experience that could help. I suppose, right?
yeah. Well, this program actually was for it was you're supposed to have the experience. Like they
Okay.
just accept two people. It was a
Hmm.
program that it was a specialization, and there was just two, me and Peter Batsis. Like we were just both of us. It was the first time that we're doing this, and it was a 1 year certificate. So we had a lot of, we were doing a lot of work during the year, but it was also, yeah, some like they didn't accept you if you didn't have any previous work in theater and in lights and stuff.
Yeah.
So that really helped me a lot. Like the first year that I was in Canada, I went to Canadian school or, well, in Montreal with the National Theatre School.
Hmm.
It has English and French, right?
Hmm.
It's divided English and French. The lining program that, as I said, doesn't exist anymore, but it was just in English.
Okay.
So that helped me. That helped me because it helped me to get other work. So,
About the doing the study in English. In
yeah,
Montreal, we speak French too. So
yeah,
how was your
yeah. That's
language barrier here?
yeah. Like as an immigrant, if we talk about that,
Yeah,
because
like
I
an artist immigrant.
the artist immigrant,
Yeah.
and it's, I guess for all of us it's hard. What it's hard is arriving to a city that has two cultures and two languages that are different from yours. So
Yeah.
you're not just dealing with one language and another culture. You are, it's two different cultures and two different languages. So it's hard. I think it's hard because there's a lot of stuff that you really don't understand, and actually the theater in Montreal is completely different, the English theater, than the French theater, and how they do it, and
So there are
why
like two entities, the separate entities, right? It's
yeah,
different,
completely different. They are very different, actually,
even
even the
if they
way
are
they
in the same
divide the
city.
work and things like that. For me, well, like the Franco part, it was more in the National Theatre School. It was more similar to the way we work in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
but the language that I speak already when I arrived was English, and the program was in English.
Perfect.
So that was also kind of weird because I couldn't communicate with the French part because I didn't speak French.
Yeah.
And the National Theatre School, it's like a very, very, I think it's still the same. I don't know, but like in my time, you didn't have time for anything else. Like it was really, really, you cannot do anything else. You just have to do the school because there's no time.
Okay, so you cannot work, for example.
Sorry?
You cannot work, for example, if you are in school.
No.
Okay.
No.
This is really difficult, yes. You are a real student, but in the same time you have to leave, right? Because you are not home, you are not in your country, so you have to leave.
Well, that's why I asked for the grant.
Yeah.
And that's the way I was paying, because I was paying with that and my savings, and I sold everything.
Yeah.
I sold my car and my computer, everything.
So you spend a lot of money on that school.
Yeah, it was worth it because I did learn
Yeah.
a lot, and as I said, like it helped me that I did it the first year that I arrived.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
How was your adaptation process when you came here?
Well, it was hard.
Did you lose the confidence in you? You had some down and up moments. How was it?
I still.
Felt discouraged. You wanted to leave. You wanted to go back to Mexico at one point. Tell us about your emotional state, for example. How was it?
Well, one of those like life started going. I worked in Mexico. I did go back and did line design for a big opera, Tosca, in Mexico. That it was great because we toured. So I did that work there. I think it was the only one. My first year was very hard because also winter. I'm from Mexico City, so the winter was super hard. Understanding what to wear, how to behave. I did weird things like, for example, I saw this snow pants.
Yeah.
Very warm. And I will arrive to school, like I will walk on the street with my snow pants, and I will arrive to school and take them off and put them in the locker. And I saw like everybody was looking at me, but nobody will tell me I was going to do that at the city.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird until finally Peter said, "Flavia, we don't do that. That's only kids that do that." And I was like, oh, "Okay, thanks." So everybody was making fun of me, and you didn't tell me in their heads.
Yeah.
Other things that I find it and I still find it very interesting, was that people don't say hi here. And I come from a country that, even it's one of the biggest countries, not the biggest cities of the world.
Yeah.
People will enter a room and they say good afternoon, like
to everybody in the room.
Yeah, it was like the normal thing.
Yeah.
And I realized here nobody says hi. Nobody. For me it's so weird. It's just like I couldn't understand it then. I guess now I got used to it, but it was kind of like, why? Why?
You were the only one who entering in a room and say hi everybody.
Good afternoon, and everybody looks at you like
whatever.
You're weird. Or there's a lot of stuff. Or like I was talking to my sister. My sister lives in Puerto Vallarta, and all my family lives in Mexico. How in Mexico, if you go to a store if you go to buy a coffee, for example, and the third time they will already know, yeah, you like your coffee with that milk. Yeah. There's a lot of those kind of stuff. And I was saying that I've been going for the dry cleaners now for all the time that I've been here. And I think until the 10 years after going to that dry cleaner, finally the girl says, "Oh, hi," or she sees me in the street and she goes, "Oh, yeah, hi." Things like that, you know. One
So
of the times that I said it's very hard to come from Mexico because no matter where you go, no matter, because I also spent a lot of time in Berlin,
uh-huh.
no matter where you go, um, it's always going to be colder than your own country, than your own culture.
So this is happening everywhere when you are an immigrant.
Yeah, I guess, yes.
You are
And
colder.
I
Yes.
guess when you're an immigrant in Mexico, because there's also a lot of immigrants in Mexico, they're
Mhm.
surprised how much people say hi to them. I guess, you know, it's like, I guess it's
So it's just the culture then.
I think it's a culture. I
Yes.
think cultures have different things. Like, also, I come from a country that it's like there's a lot of violence and there's drugs and there's a lot of, you know,
Yeah.
the rape of women. Also, that also was one of the things that good things when I arrived here that I thought I was surprised is, for example, I realized I've had rights. Like, I never thought I could have rights, you know, like I could, like, mostly as a woman, or that, for example, that if you're in a bar and you're fed up and you go, okay, I want to leave, you can just stand up and leave, and, you know,
Yeah.
just go. And in Mexico, that's impossible, you know, as a woman.
Oh,
Yeah. So there, here you have more freedom, you know, that,
yeah.
and that thing, it's priceless, you know. You're
Yeah.
not living with the fear all the time that you're gonna get robbed or you're gonna get killed or you're gonna, you know,
Yeah.
rape. And so that's also true, you know. I do love my country, and I think Mexico City, it's a vibrant and amazing city, but also it is very violent. And also when you're there, you realize, you're like, when you leave the country, then you realize, oh my god, this is, I was not free,
Yes.
you
You see
know.
the difference. See
Yes.
what's missing.
So there's always good things and bad things. I don't think uh, there's both. I struggle with certain stuff when I was in Mexico, and I struggle with stuff when I'm here.
That's for sure. Yes.
Yeah. Uh, in a point, I realized that I was missing a lot the way that I was creating theater in Mexico.
Okay.
And that's why when I went to puppetry, that's when I
Okay.
went to puppetry, and I decided, I saw the puppet from my friend Heather, that it was mostly an object, and I thought it was amazing. So it connected with my objects part that I always loved, and I think Mexican culture has a lot of connection with objects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah, Japanese also, the
Yeah.
Japanese and the Mexicans, we have a lot of connection with objects. It's kind of like, it's a very important thing. It's part of the culture. It's part of the everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I said I want to go back to, and I was taking French. Like, every time I was touring, and then I would take French, and then I would tour again, and then take French. You know, all the time, kind of like very chaotic, like really from all over the place. And then I decided that I wanted to go back and do the DSS in puppetry at La UCAM. So I applied, and I got in, and
Studied
uh,
puppet.
yeah, I asked, because I thought, and I still think, and it keeps develop, that for me it was creating, like, oh, I'm going to something smaller, and I'm able to create the whole design, you know, the
Yeah.
puppets, the set, the lights, like the whole thing, like the
Yeah.
um,
In puppetry, you have this chance to do everything.
yeah. I do have to say, as a puppeteer, that I don't think it's a good idea as a puppeteer to do everything. I
No,
think
it's
it's
not.
important to
But
have other people,
yes.
because I think it's important to, you know, to have feedbacks,
Oh,
and
yeah. That's for sure. You
it's a
cannot
teamwork.
do a good show in with the puppets in one person. You need the other person to do because everybody has his part in a show with puppets, especially.
Yeah, I'm more even I have done on stage stuff. Like I started being a performer, and I actually performed as a performer not long ago at the Phenomena Festival.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have more tendency to. I'm more about. I do like more the design part, the
Okay.
the building. And since I went to UCAM, I realized that I also wanted to direct my own stuff. Like that was the idea, to start creating my own projects.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that you did some short animation movies, right?
Yeah. Now I'm
Tell
stop
us about
motion.
that. Because there are some puppets, some objects that they're moving.
Yeah, and objects. That's
Yes.
amazing. Oh, so weird. I'm one of the things I do have to say. Like, I'm very curious, so I always want to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing set, but then I go, oh, but doing lights on set, it's amazing. I'm gonna do lights. So I start doing lights. So kind of started going one or the other, and then I was like, okay, I'm doing now. I want to do something else, and I want to keep on working with my hands and not just a computer. So I want to do puppets. And so when I was studying French at the Center of Women, the FEM, the Montreal, that was the only place that they were all women. They're not men. There's no
Mm-hmm.
men at all.
It was a center only for women.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was actually amazing. They were really helpful with me. The teachers were great. The director was great, and they were the only school that kind of allowed me to keep on taking French classes, even that sometimes I wasn't there because I was touring. I was
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
So I loved that space. I thought it was amazing, and also this thing of all women and all cultures from all over the world, and languages from all over the world, languages that I didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because I do think the language is kind of your home,
Yes.
to if we're honest.
Yes.
So of course,
You feel
then
safe because you know your first language and you feel home. That's
yeah.
the first language that you learn.
So in this center, there was the Latins, that I was part of the Latins. Those that speak Spanish, and then the ones that speak Arab,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that speak English. Like, you do divide. I think it's
Yeah.
natural. And but it was amazing because all these women, there was a lot of women that they were refugees,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that they were not telling their stories from their countries, because mostly when you're a refugee, you're not supposed to speak well about your country because they allowing you here, and this is like the best thing. and
Yeah.
and here, like, the women, they were feeling free because they were all women and stuff, and the teacher was amazing, and she asked us to talk about our experience in our own countries. So they start talking about the good stuff about their countries, like people from Romania or Armenia, well, Colombia, everywhere, talking about the good stuff. Iran, like, there was like women from all over the world. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing.
So,
And they were start talking about their, the streets and the smells, and they will bring, they will cook and they bring stuff, and I wanted to tell that stories. Like, I was like, this is amazing. We should just give us a chance to talk
to
about the
express
good
yourself.
things about our countries.
Yes.
No, uh, you're
I'm from Romania.
from Romania, exactly. So there was also, people that said, I'm from Romania and we allowed this thing, so like the good things. So I wanted to do that, and I was still not let you come. It was before.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the puppet, the DSS, the
Yes.
2 years program, and I still had that. And I talked to some of my friends that they were also they're artists, and I said I want to do something with this. Maybe we should like maybe do puppets, or I want to do something, or visual arts. And so one of them said, "Oh, why don't we do stop motion?" We do the project of stop motion, and she was the but I said I don't know anything, like I'm not a filmmaker, and I don't want to go there because it's a lot of money, and the equipment, there's a lot of stuff involved that will take a lot of money to do it. But she convinced me, and I said, okay, if I do all the building, the puppets and writing and doing all that and sets and stuff, and but you take more part of the tech part. We were both doing both, but mostly,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do it. And so we apply for Montreal Arts Intercultural, MY.
So you
That
asked for a grant.
Well, this one is a support more than a grant. It's a support.
Okay.
This is a gallery. I don't know if I'm saying it right. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm so sorry. But like it's they have a gallery and they have theater, a big theater, a theater. It's an amazing space. It's a space that they help a lot of diversity.
And when you say diversity, that means immigrants.
Immigrants, LGB,
Okay.
the yeah. Sorry, I still like all all
Yeah.
the diversity in all ways,
Yeah.
in all their forms.
Okay.
And what they do, it's called Alliance, and what they do is they help you with. They don't give you money directly.
Mm-hmm.
They help you with mentors. So
Okay.
they pay the mentors. It says, okay, I want to do this project, and I want Aurelia to be my mentor in puppetry. So my will pay you
Yeah.
directly, and they pay other stuff.
So there are programs like this that can help immigrant people,
Immigrants.
immigrant artists that they are coming.
Yeah. Also, Calc has one that it's also called Diversité. That it's also for immigrants.
You had one of those too?
No, no, I applied, but I haven't got it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. But we
So
can.
that one, no.
Yeah.
Also, I did have the experience of the change. Like when I arrived, you as I was saying, like doesn't matter how much you didn't, you could get grants, you can get anything. Like I applied for grants, I was getting grants in Mexico, artist grants in Mexico, and I was trying to get art here, and I didn't get any. It was super hard. Like you really was like nothing that you have done in your country.
Okay.
It's I do have to say that that has changed. That has changed because now there is a lot more opening
Oh,
for asking for grants, and if you come from diversity, that diversity is being an immigrant.
yes.
Like one of the people that I admire a lot, and I think she's amazing, is Louise Lapointe
Yes.
from Castellera, Niam. She's like one of my heroes.
She,
She's
she's
amazing.
the director of the Castelier Festival. It's an international festival also. So
Yeah,
uh, people
and
can search it, and it's a great festival.
it's an amazing festival, and the space, like she now also had this like started the space that it's Miam,
Hmm. The
Mr. Miam.
International House of Puppetry in Montreal, something like
Yeah,
that.
and the little theater is amazing, and the people that work there, we met there, you and I.
Yes.
It's amazing, and the workshop, it's beautiful. It's an amazing space, and also they do give
They
grants
support,
when you
yeah.
can.
It's a kind of a financial thing, right? I don't know how
Yeah,
to call it.
Yeah.
It's a kind of grant actually, because you can have some money through them and you can do your stuff. You can work. You can
There's a
continue your
residency
projects.
locally. It's a residency to do your own work. That I
Yeah.
feel it's amazing. So anyway, I started working in this project, and we did workshops with 8 women.
Mhm.
It was so bad that I didn't met you by then, because for sure I will invite you to do it. So they will tell their story, and we will do a animation project. The person that was working with me, she decided that she couldn't do it because she had other stuff
Mhm.
going on in her life, and she wanted to do a different thing. So then I started, like, I go, oh, I have this support from Montreal Arts and Cultural that it's amazing, and I have to do this stop motion thing, and because I'm crazy, and also I didn't know what I was doing, I
So
said, okay, we'll do it.
yeah.
So I
So
start.
I have a question. You did that with the woman from the center that they weren't necessarily artists, right?
Yeah, at the end I didn't do it with the woman in the center because it was complicated to do it there, but I did ask 8 immigrant women to tell me the stories.
Okay, so
They're
you
not
got
artists.
stories from them.
They're not artists. None
Okay,
of them.
yes. Okay,
They are from different places of the world,
yes.
and the idea is they tell the stories about a good story from their country,
Mm-hmm.
like a good memory. And it's a project that I do want to finish it by next year, because it's been too, like, long, because the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it, and I started to learn, because I didn't do know how to do it. So I started learning to do stop motion uh, by myself. No, well, I, I took classes online, and I was taking a course at La Miam, and it was stop motion with
Yeah.
Goulet.
It's the director of the animation festival in Montreal.
Yeah, he's not directing it right now, but he started it, and he works at
Started it.
Concordia.
Yeah.
He does, like, he's a teacher in Concordia. He's an amazing guy, very animated, amazing. And by then, Jean Berthaud was there at working at Miam, and she loves stop motion.
Yeah.
So she was, like, putting a lot of stuff there. And I was taking a course, like, I decided to, start taking courses and stuff. So I went to Prague, Puppets in Prague.
Mm-hmm.
I've been twice in Puppets in Prague. That it's amazing.
Yes.
If you can go do it. I took 2 courses. One was mechanical objects.
Excellent. Yes.
It's, yeah, and I took the one for stop motion, to do
Yes.
puppets with stop motion.
Because you wanted to do your project with stop motion.
Yeah, like, I had all the support, and I wanted to do it, and then I also asked for a grant to Canada Council, and they gave me the grant to do the project.
Great.
So it's one of those, like, and then you go, I have to do this.
Yeah, of course.
And I loved it. I have to say, I love doing stop motion. It is
It is amazing indeed.
amazing.
Yes.
And then John said she talked to another festival residency in Edinburgh, Magnetic North,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided to do an exchange, and it was stop motion and stage. So it was a residency. They have to be in Edinburgh for 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks, but you work for 2 weeks, and then a residency in Montreal for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And you have to figure out how you do stop motion and stage. So
Good.
I applied with the same idea of telling the stories of the women,
Mm-hmm.
and I got the residency thanks to Miam
Perfect.
and Castellier, and it was Castellier and Cam, and and Cam and Magnetic North in Edinburgh. So I went to Edinburgh. That was 2020.
Yes.
So
the right year.
yeah, but that was great at the beginning because it was amazing. Like in Edinburgh, I had like the most amazing time. It was super good. I presented an 18-minute show with stop
Wow.
motion and stage.
Wow.
And then I
Do you
came
still play
here.
that?
Huh?
Do you still play that? Can we see it somewhere?
Yeah, it's in my extracts of work.
The extract, but do you do it? Do you play it now, like a show? Do you do it again?
No. It was 2020,
Okay.
and it was mostly a presentation of
Of the
the
resident.
residency
Okay.
in
Okay.
Edinburgh, and then I did here the residency in Montreal, and I did another thing. Like I did because I work with some actors,
Mm-hmm.
amazing actors in Edinburgh. So we developed that, and it's when I started to develop so much as on stage and also objects that I realized was the thing that I always liked a lot. Like
Okay. Yeah.
objects is something that is very important for me in my life and in my work. So I started working a lot with objects, and I started the one that I did over there was called Takeaway, because the actors in Edinburgh told me that they didn't feel comfortable to tell the stories of the immigrants because
Mm-hmm.
they were not from their countries. So I developed workshops that I told them, okay, if you had to leave your country right now, what object will you take with you?
Okay.
And in Edinburgh, they don't say, they say take away. Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, let's put take away. Normally here in America, in the States, they say, oh,
You go. Yeah.
go. And over there they say take away. So I thought it was very funny. So, so we developed a show. It was two objects. One that it was a very important object in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to tell the story of that object in that workshop. And the other one was which object, if you have to leave your house, your country, will you take with you and why? So I developed with them, with these actors, a 20-minute, 18-minute show. You can see it. There's like extracts in the
Yeah.
video,
Mm-hmm.
and at the back, I did some stop motion. So it was a stop motion with the objects in the video and on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked it a lot. I think it worked very well. It was a great experience. So when I came back to Montreal, I called my immigrant women, the same that I did some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I said the same thing. I said, but to them, I asked them, what object did you bring with you? You know? So I worked with the objects. Was an actor that she was not an immigrant, but she was an actor, and we developed another
Uh-huh.
show. I think it was 10 minutes show, and so I was like, oh, okay, this is where I want to go. This is amazing. I love this. I think I'm feeling and finding stuff here. It was March, and then the pandemic hit.
The pandemic. Everybody knows it.
The pandemic. So I traveled in 2020 because I went to Edinburgh. I was at this amazing international festival with people from all over the world.
Yeah.
The only country that didn't come that year was China. China was gonna open the Castellier, that it was a shadow show, an
Yes.
amazing shadow show, and because already COVID was starting, but nobody knew very well what was going on, so they canceled, and they presented a video.
Yes. I remember I was there. Yeah.
Remember?
So the projection of the show. Yes.
Yes, and then but all the rest we were here, and people from
Yes.
Edinburgh, people from all over the world were here. We were having drinks. It was an amazing festival. People from
Exactly.
Spain. And a few days after, it was when
Two,
everything
two
closed down.
days after, yes, everything was completely closed.
You were there all the time. I know everything that I'm saying. I was doing this residence. Aurelia was there.
Yes.
Amazing. It was great. Great to have you there. It was so much fun.
Yeah. So about your object projects, um,
Yeah.
what's your object that you bring from Mexico to Canada and you still have it?
Oh wow, I haven't done it mine myself. That's interesting.
You came from another country. You bring
Yeah, well,
something.
I didn't really like. I brought not a lot of stuffs when I came, but one of the stuff that I went back and brought it when I knew that I was gonna stay here was a big trunk that my father gave.
A what? A
A
big truck?
trunk, like a big trunk, a baul. Yeah,
And you still have it?
yeah, it's right there at the back.
Wow. I
I
so
have it.
you have your object.
And it was like I had to, it was heavy and I had to pay money for it. And I have to, because I also, of course, put stuff in it,
Of course. You don't waste the space.
Yeah. And I had to take it. I was like, I had to go through the state. So I have to go, like take it and, push it to the other plane.
Yeah, it's difficult.
You?
I have small stuff, and mostly they are souvenirs. They are gifts from my friends, and I have them with me, and I keep them with me all the time. Well, with me in my house.
Yeah, we should do another Zoom or another one of this and just like you could
Yeah,
show
we
it
can
and
meet
tell the
and talk.
story of it.
Yes, we can meet and talk and develop the subject, of course.
Yeah, and also I also because I used a text that it's from George Perec, that he was a French writer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the it's a text that I love that talks about the small stuff. It's called infraordinary.
Infraordinary. Okay.
Yeah, and you can find it. Like I actually have worked with it in English, French, and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a page. It's not long than 2 page text from him.
Oh, good.
It was beautiful, and it's just a text that like what he like. I still read it, and I don't know why I always want to cry, but the only thing that he says is let's see the infraordinary. Let's talk to the spoons. Let's see what it's in. The
The
important things are in the small things. The important thing
exactly
is that in the everyday thing.
the
Uh,
details that matters.
yeah, and like, but the very things that are very infraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did stuff like he died very young, but he did amazing stuff. He was an amazing, I think, not like writer, but also he will do things like will sit in the same corner for
Mm-hmm.
years and write what he saw in that corner, and then
That's
he would
interesting.
describe it.
What's his name?
George Perec,
He's
French writer.
the French writer. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And yeah, for example, he wrote a whole book without the letter E because his name is George Perec. He worked a lot. He played a lot. He was really, really playful. Like actually, right now, I think they put their all his writing back. Like I saw it again. Like it's
Mhm.
published. So I use that text, and I will, I use it in Edinburgh and in the workshop over here, and I will read it. Like let's see the small stuff. The everyday things.
Mhm.
If you can read it, it's beautiful. I can send it to you later.
I want to do it.
So the
So,
pandemic hit, and the first year, I do have to say, I had a lot of. I was going to tour a lot with Leo, the show that I talked about
mhm,
before.
that was in the schedule, but you
Yeah,
didn't.
but everything got canceled, and it's still a lot of stuff this year. For me, this year was the hardest.
This year, 2022, or
Yeah,
okay.
2022, because 2020, I realized how tired I was because I guess since I arrived from Mexico, I never stopped. No, I was just working, doing, studying, doing, working, like learning French. Okay, English. No, like.
Oh, there's a lot of time. You said you are here for almost 20 years, right? So doing
Yes, yeah.
this for
There's a lot of
a long
working
time.
stuff. And, like things are dragging you, and then you do grants and you start, and then the first grant that I had in Canada was after doing the UCAM, that I went to Prague, was in Prague to do the workshop with the mechanical toys.
Yes.
And then Canada Console with the Art Tales, that it's the project of stop motion. And then I got this amazing residency between Castellier and Magnetic North, that is Edinburgh and Montreal.
Montreal, yeah.
Then the pandemic hit, so all I worked stopped. Like I was gonna go to Japan and do a lot of touring. And then I think like a lot of people, we realized how tired we were. I guess it happened to you and it happened to everybody, going like,
yes,
man, like I'm having a break. So because I don't know how to stop. So what I did is I went to stop motion online. I did the University of Stop Motion online in 2020.
So you didn't stop, actually?
No, I didn't stop because
you
I needed to do my project and learn. So I learned a lot of stop motion. I learned a lot of how building puppets for stop motion. I had an amazing time, actually.
Yeah.
I also I wanted to start doing stuff with shallow puppetry. So I built a light for shallow puppetry. So I did a lot of stuff during 2020, like a lot. And then 2021, I start, doing the stop motion animation film because, we got stopped because I couldn't see people, I couldn't do anything. So anyway, and I had the grant. So I started doing it. That was 2021. And I applied for another residency with the Castellier in 2021, and I got it. That it was this year for a new project that I want to keep on researching between stop motion and stage. But for us that we're in Canada and we do have in Quebec, and that we do have, I'm still permanent resident, and so we did got the help. So I did kind of profit a lot from it in 2020. Because suddenly, like I didn't have to be working in other stuff. I was really paying attention to this. I couldn't see anybody, but I could, do and learn and do stuff. 2020 kind of opened, but then closed again, but open, but it closed again. So no.
Yes.
And then the last closed in December of 2021. It was one that just destroyed me. Like I was like, because again we were starting, and again so all of the work that I started to have got canceled, and there was no more help.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, it's been a very hard year. So I've been trying to finish my film. I almost have all film, like the film of the women, our tales. All the filming is done, and now I just have to go to post production. So have it ready for next year. And we're going to have finally some shows from Leo in Quebec nearby. That's amazing. That's also next year.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah, it's like again a little bit, reading. And I do have a project that I got the residency at it was again Cam and Les Chats and and Castellier-Lamiam.
Mm-hmm.
I am. It's also a project that it really excites me. That I'm in development. That it's also trying to put again all this stop motion and stage and shadow puppetry and I want to keep on talking about immigration, but it's also in relation with the elves because I love that kind of stuff. So
Oh,
elves, like you know,
like elves.
elves.
Okay, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, and so that's the one that I want to develop for next year.
Good. So
Um,
you have projects that they are moving. They are coming back from before pandemic period, and so you are doing stuff.
yeah, I am. I guess what was very hard this year is mostly the money because I did some line design. I did the line design for puppet show, children puppet show of the Cristina Trosque, El Amor Te Vendrá. I did that. But it's like I worked in a maquette for a very great project at the Gallery SBC
Mm-hmm.
with Pablo Gershamik, and I helped build the whole maquette. That was not long ago. It's mostly this thing that you're gonna have, like you were going to have work and then they cancel. Like we were gonna have like 5 shows of Leo this year. They canceled all. We just had one. So it's mostly this kind of like the not traveling, not yeah,
Not
it's been
not
hard.
being sure what you are doing. Yeah, I have a question for you. How do you feel in your new country? Do you think that you feel that you lost something coming here, and what is it? Like an artist, I'm talking like an artist. And if you are here now, what do you think you won? You have more than you could have in your country. You have a lot of experience. You also did a lot of studying here, and you enjoying it. You like it. I see that you manage in a way to do everything you want, but I know it was so hard. That's why I'm asking. What do you feel you won
And what I feel
being
I
here,
lost.
and what do you think you feel you lost leaving your country?
What I lost, and it's the community. One of the things that in Mexico it's amazing is the community of artists. Like artists in Mexico, I know all kinds of artists in Mexico. Like
Yes.
I know painters, filmmakers, um, everything, like poets, writers, and we all met and we all knew each other, and there was a lot of talking about that. There's a lot of stuff going on all the time, a lot of creativity, a lot of color, a lot of stuff that I lost and I still miss
Okay.
a
Do you
lot.
think we don't see this here because we are immigrants, because we don't speak the same language, or it's just because they are not like us?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. Even that I love being at the UCAM, for me it was very hard. Like it was very hard because my French is. I still feel that I'm not great at French because I didn't know I was not that great with languages until I started trying to learn French.
It's hard
And
to learn French.
yeah, and to speak it well and to
Yes.
pronounce it and to hear it. And I realized I don't hear it that well. I don't. That's one of your questions. I would love to have a skill more of language because it's been super hard for me. And I start speaking French, and I kind of start, and then I start stumbling. I feel very insecure, and a lot of people are always, not always, but a lot of people correct you.
Not always.
Not always. Not
Yeah.
always and not everybody, but some people do. And so I start feeling shy. So I
Yes.
start going back because I also realized that they were doing a sound that I couldn't hear. I still, you know. And I'm super perfectionist. I am very obsessive and perfectionist, and it's very hard for me not being able to be super masters at French.
Yes. I'm the same.
So
I know what you are talking about.
yeah,
And it's as you said, you feel shy, but actually, I start to close myself
yeah,
because
me too.
it's like, and I feel that I'm not me anymore
Yeah,
because
I'm not me anymore.
it's hard to express myself, and in the same time, it's for the others, it's hard to just listening. I'm trying to to say something, but I feel that you are not receiving what I wanted to say, even if I don't speak your language. And this is difficult.
Yeah, because there's a combination of stuff, it's a combination of culture, a combination of the language. I do have to say that, I went back to school very old in my 50s, and that it was so calm. And there was a lot of times that I was in the bathroom crying because people didn't want to work with me.
So yes.
And I also learned a lot from it because I realized that it was because it was so demanding, the school was so demanding, and they just wanted to work fast. And then with me, I will slow them down because they maybe had to repeat something, or as you say, I was trying to say something and they wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Or object theater also, like I realized, like, an object for me as a Mexican will mean something, and for them will mean something else.
And that takes time to explain what it
Yeah,
is for you, and it's not the same thing. And in the same time, like an artist, you are creative and you want to express yourself to make you understand, but you can't because there's a barrier there. There's something that is stopping this, and your artistic creativity is stopped somewhere. It's like
yeah. Actually,
you just give
actually,
up.
one of your questions that I just hit my head, because one of your questions is like a funny story
Yes,
for
I
an
have that too.
accident.
Can you tell us a funny story?
Yeah, I was gonna tell you that was very hard because when you work at backstage, or like as a technician or designer, accidents are not funny. Like, it is a
After
lot
that,
of
they
pressure.
are.
It's a lot of pressure for technicians. So I wanted to say in this podcast, please be a little bit more patient from the people that are running the sound and the lights and all that, because those accidents, for nobody, it's funny, and it's really hard because we're
Yes.
still human beings and we do make mistakes. So those are not funny, but like right now that I'm talking to you, that was so good that we did like this. I can tell you a very funny story that has to do with immigration and culture and everything. That it was exactly at UCAM. So it was one of my first scenes, like the first stuff that we had to do. So it was a class with Dinae, and Dinae gave us a text, and in French, of course. So we had to do a puppet, and we had to develop a scene, and speak in French.
Yeah.
But for
It
me,
was
it was like I was the first year, so it was the beginning. So I was like, oh, I'm eager, I'm gonna do it, kind of. Later on, it was harder.
yes.
So I did a puppet. I don't have it around. I have it, like, it's in my trunk. The trunk that I came from Mexico now is the trunk for my puppets. So I developed this puppet that it's a mushe. A mushe is it's a community in Mexico that is the third. It's like the third sex. Like, they have men, women, and mushes. And mushes are men that they dress up as women because they feel they are two spirits, and it's from Chiapas, and it's called mushes. and they put a lot of flowers, and they usually stay with the mother. So and it's accepted it's accepted. It's kind of part of the culture.
Yeah.
If I'm saying something wrong, I apologize, because there's a lot more stuff, because I don't come from that region of Mexico. So I want to do it. So I did this little puppet with flowers, and I said, I'm gonna take the text and I'm just gonna sing it, because if you sing it, it's easier. No,
It's easier, yeah.
like you can cover your mistakes. And I took a song from Mexico that it was like a mariachi song, like mariachis in Mexico that but everything in mariachis.
Everybody knows mariachi.
Yeah, she left me, and it's just so dramatic and kind of. So I took the song and was like, oh, I'm gonna just take the words, and I'm just gonna sing it like this Mexican song. So, and it's gonna be super dramatic, and it was a farce.
Wait.
It was a farce. So I took my puppet and I did it, and it was like, and the puppet will there was flowers, and he will push the flowers away, and nobody laughs. And I just thought, I suck. I really should not do this anymore. It's like,
go under the table.
Yeah, I was like, why they're not laughing? It's like, it's a farce, and everybody took it so seriously. And we start talking about it and make comments, and everything was so serious and I didn't say anything. I just was like, okay.
What?
So I came back home, and Greg, he's Anglo-Canadian.
Yeah.
He's French, but he's Anglo-Canadian. And I told him, can I show you what I did at school? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm not going to say anything. So
I just want a reaction. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took my puppet and I do the scene, and Greg looks at it and starts crying, laughing. Starts laughing. And I was like, oh my God.
Finally.
So it's when you realize there is, humor. I know if I will perform that in Mexico, people will get it, that it was a farce, and people will laugh.
Yes. Maybe it's because you already personalized the puppet before. You knew that it's that person from that region in Mexico, and probably the person from Canada didn't know the story of that kind of character in Mexico of your puppet. Maybe
but
that
at the end, wasn't that important at the end, because Greg didn't know that either. It was mostly the song. It was mostly
the song and the way that you were doing it.
Yeah, it was the song, and it was like, this farce and this very dramatic thing, that we're Mexicans were very melodramatic with this.
Yeah, we know telenovelas.
Exactly, and Juan Gabriel and all this kind of stuff. But I guess because Greg got it, but he lives with me. He's been living for me now for 19 years. So he understood, and he was laughing. And then I remember when I arrived here at the beginning, I would tell him jokes, and he wouldn't laugh. He wouldn't get them. And it was like, okay, this guy doesn't have a sense of humor. And then I guess he started to realize what was the sense of humor.
Yes, because we explain to them, and they understand how you act. Why are you saying that?
Yeah.
But sometimes when you are making a joke, it's like, for them it's serious, and they are like, why do you say that? It's a joke. Okay.
And you feel bad, and then you try to explain, and it is worse.
Yeah.
So that one, and the one that it's very fast, it was like, so people realize after that, I was feeling always very, for me it was very hard to improvise also, in French.
Yes, exactly, because it's another language. You have to improvise without words if you improvise.
Exactly. So for me that was also hard. So we were doing another exercise, and I was working with Celine, one of the my one of the, oh, I forgot. Well, one of the ones that take, yeah,
Yeah.
colleague. So, and we had to do a scene, and we had to improvise, and everybody knew that I felt, really shy, that it was very hard for me.
Yes.
So I arrived, and suddenly I just took the stage. Not Celine, it was me on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, oh my God, what's going on, And then I took an object, because it was with the La Pierre Spaz, and we were doing object theater. So I took an object, and I started talking, and Celine's like, but I didn't do any sound. So Celine was talking.
Uh-huh.
So we were mimicking, because it was also, we're supposed to do a TV show. So we were mimicking this very bad translations, like when, you're watching a show, and they keep on talking, and they shut up, and the other person, like, you can hear the voice of the dubbed, like the double, like when they dubbed stuff.
Yes.
So then everybody got it, and we start laughing. It was fun. So it's also, I guess, as an immigrant, I started to learn how to go around those kind of things.
You have to learn this stuff in different groups because they are not all the same, and you
Yeah.
are going in different places, and you have to adapt yourself in every specific place. So yeah,
So
and
yeah, I do miss a lot the community. I miss a lot the talking with other artists that are not just your field. Like,
Mhm.
as I said, that does happen. Like, parties and reunions, and I have friends that are everything. Like, they're poets, or they're writers, or poets, or painters, and that community, I do miss it a lot. I miss the creation in theater that is more like a whole creation, like
yes,
we were all together working on a show. Here I find it very separate, so I miss that, and I lost it and missed. But I did get the in my field, like in my career, artistic career, I do have done a lot more stuff that I will have done in Mexico.
okay,
Like, for example, the touring.
yeah.
Because Mexico's huge, so almost the shows they presented in Mexico City, you know,
Mexico City is huge, so
it's
yeah,
huge. So they
you do
had a
the
lot of
tour only
touring.
in Mexico City.
Yeah, you can play. There's 300 representations of shows. 300 representations,
Yeah.
and here, of course, you cannot do that. So I, and then I realized also, when I started getting very depressed, and that I was not feeling that I was doing enough, mostly in Montreal, the puppetry.
Okay.
That's huge for me. It really has been amazing. I met people like you. I met people like, well, Louise Lapointe, and Julie, La Violette, La Miam, and Richard, that is also La Miam, and a lot of people that does puppets.
Every people in this field, yeah, they are amazing. Yes.
Yeah,
It's a small community, I can say, but they are very good.
yeah, and it's a really nice community.
Yes.
So I maybe lost the other community, but finally with puppetry, I gained another community, that it was the puppets.
Little by little, yes,
Yeah,
we are trying to understand the others, and they are trying to understand us. But they are not all the people like this. That's the thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that there's residencies open for diversity, that it's us, like immigrants,
Yes.
part of the diversity, and we Pabla and Angel, that also are amazing, and
I'm gonna do a podcast with Pavla too.
yes,
I'm gonna talk with her too to tell her to tell us her story.
and And also, like, puppetry gives you an object. Like, also Pabla does that. Her show is beautiful. Uh, her show, well, the show of both of them, because it's her and her partner. But the opportunity of, I do believe a lot in the nonverbal shows.
Yes.
You also, it's shown with not doesn't have any words, so it's a that's been also why we've been traveling a lot, because then you can, it's a physical theater show that it's great because there's no words and people will understand. So
Exactly.
I love not verbal shows, and puppetry gives you that and opens a universe of magic and another universe that it's amazing of, yeah, magic and
I
in
love
the
your
other world,
yeah.
kind of.
You can
But
do whatever you want with puppets. And for us, the immigrants, it's easier maybe to express ourselves with an object, with a puppet, without words.
exactly.
Because if we have that difficulty of express ourselves in another language, we can find our language, the language as of a puppet. So
Yeah,
let's
that's
together.
I'm trying to gain that also in the same question that you asked me. I also miss the magic in Mexico, because the magic is everywhere.
Yes.
It's like, people will say, I don't believe in anything, but you know what? I'm feeling something weird, so I'm gonna go and do a clean so with this witch, or
Yeah.
that
The
the
ritual.
other, I miss it a lot.
Yes.
And it exists in Mexico all the time, like the parallel universe of the other as the magic, the witches, the elves, and that's why I want to do this project. The
That's basically I
chaniques
wanted to
and
say.
the aluxes and the other cultures inside the cultures, the legends, the ghosts, all this kind of stuff.
Do
Go
you
and
have
reading
a
the tarot, I have to go and, go
yeah?
on. That I just,
Do you have a show that inspired you to go on this artistic path? Do you have a something that you saw when you were a kid and you decided I want to be an artist? How did you choose to do this in life? How did you decide to do theater or like design and all this? What were
well,
your dream when you were a kid? You wanted to be what? You wanted to
well,
be a puppeteer?
the first thing is I wanted to be a painter. So I guess, if now that I hear you, I think I will always wanted to create another universe. Like, I was so into comics. I love comic books and
So
drawing.
drawing, painting, this was your dream.
I used to love the Muppet shows, of course. The Muppet Show was amazing. Oh, and there was a show in Mexico. We grew up a lot with the Japanese shows.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one show that it was called Miss Comet, Señorita Cometa. And funny enough, and now that I'm talking about it, does the same thing that I want to do at stop motion and stage, but this was real people
Mm-hmm.
and animation and stop motion in a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this Miss Comet was a nanny that had to work with two Japanese kids, and because she was Spanish, like she misbehaved in her planet, and she was a cartoon. So she
Uh-huh.
becomes a real woman, and they send it to Japan, to Tokyo. And the professor was a cartoon, like it was her with the little cartoon here, like,
Uh-huh.
and she had a mascot, and the mascot was a little dragon, that it was a stuffed animal that it will move. Chivigon, it was his name. Chivigon. I don't know. In Spanish, it was Chivigon. And that was stop motion. So I think I didn't know that, but that at the end inspired me to do this. It's a theater. It's fiction. It's creating other worlds.
Yes.
So I don't know if it was one thing or one show in particular. I think it was mostly this, because I did saw shows in Mexico. Uh, but I think it was mostly this the creation of another world, that you're capable to be in different dimensions or different worlds or different universe or different countries or different
So
cultures. You know?
actually, the culture that you have in Mexico with your witches and elves, that helps you develop your imagination in this way, right? That's why maybe you just wanted to create because your imaginary was working all the time
Yeah,
you in Mexico, and everything it was like, yes, I build this, I have to do this more and more and more. What should I do? I draw, I will paint, after that we do theater, now you are doing stop motion. So
yeah,
actually everything it's in your blood because you are a Mexican, and you
yeah.
that
Yeah,
into
I guess
your
so.
culture, right?
Yeah, that I miss, like the not being, not everything had to be a rational.
Yes.
Not everything has to be a rational answer. You know,
Yeah.
like they, oh, there's signs and you have to listen to the signs, and or you have to ask for your the beams of light, the light beams that are around you, you know, and you have to, you
You
know,
have to
the
listen
lighting or the
yourself.
time. Yeah,
Yes.
I miss a lot, and I think that always was like, you know, when I was a kid, I was always wanted to be. I was living always in a cartoon, you know, like in Snoopy. I love Peanuts, so Snoopy on Mafalda. That it was also an Argentinian comic book, and all these comics. And I was always, and I wanted, and then I started reading Archie and all that stuff. You know, I always was like dreaming in another world. So
That's nice.
yeah,
Probably that's why we had the courage too to leave our country because it's not easy. And in the search of this new world that it was in our imaginary, we just left our country, and try in another place. Try to find our thing that we feel that is missing inside us. Even if it's
yeah,
hard, because it's hard, and we
it's
don't
a
know if we will
spirit.
find it until we are going to die. But at least
I I
trying.
also, I do have to say that one of the things that I didn't do that much in Mexico, and I, since I arrived here, it's crying. I started crying a lot more since I became an immigrant,
Yeah.
and also gave me this amazing understanding of other things. You know, like, because I don't know for you, but for me also, now I'm in the point that I go to Mexico and I don't fit there anymore.
Yes.
But I doesn't fit. I don't feel that I fit completely here. So you become like in this
Between, and you
limbo.
feel lost sometimes.
Yeah. So you're like kind of yeah, an in between thing. You know,
Yeah.
you're not from here. You're not from there. And you understand certain stuff that you have learned here, but then there, you know, that I feel it's the hardest.
Yes.
It's the hardest because also, you know, who has the passion to start like, you know, hearing you all the time that your brain or your way of seeing things is different when you go there or when you're here. So
Yes.
that's also, I wanted. That's why I want to do the elf thing. You know, it's like,
Because you can do everything with the elf. It's permitted.
no, and because they're from other world. You know,
Yes.
they're from
And
like
probably they understand better.
yeah, yeah. I actually think we come from there.
Yes. What would you think it worth telling the future generation about what you did in your life, the lesson that you left behind, intellectual and moral? So imagine that you are in 50 years from now and you are talking with the new generations that they
Mhm.
are coming, and you are telling them about your life and your advice to them, how they should live the life through your perspective.
Well, I think one will be always be curious. I think that's been one thing that I think I'm. It's good that I have done. That it's being curious and keep on being curious and learning new stuff and doing new things. One thing that I don't think I have managed yet that I should. So for the new learner says to listen more to yourself
To
and to,
yourself.
yeah, and to believe more in yourself. I think that's something that still I struggle. I don't believe in me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I'm good enough. I don't think that I have done enough. Like I talk to you and I go, oh, I have done this and I studied this, and I still don't feel like I'm a complete artist, or and I see other artists that they really, or younger people that they really are very sure, and I admire that. I wish I could be more secure.
But
in
I
my
have a question here. Do
Yeah.
you, do you think that this insecure thing that you have, it's because you are not living in your country? Because it's an insecurity that
I think I had it,
it's
but it
built.
made it worse. I think I did had it in Mexico a bit, but there was a point in Mexico that I did feel more myself. Like I could, I was younger also. I
Yeah.
was a lot younger, but I was more. I was more like I will say things that I just think all the time, and I felt I was allowed. And here I don't feel
Okay.
say things that way. Also, the languages, as we were talking, the both languages of both cultures. I have started closing a lot more. I was a lot more social, a lot more social.
In Mexico, right?
Yeah,
Here,
I mean, between I think age and also culture and yeah, language. You know, it's exhausting to be speaking other languages all the time. It's very tiring. So
yeah.
um,
So
yeah,
that
no,
that's the advice. To be more curious, to
to
believe in
be
yourself.
curious, to listen to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, to believe in what you want to do. I know there's a, I don't know, it's such a cliche because everybody says the same thing, but it is true. It's every time that I'm getting super stressed or getting bad or depressed or discouraged, I think I have to kind of go back why I started doing this. Like, what was my first? Why do I start doing this? And then you remember when you are the beginner's mind that Peter from Old Trout said that it's always good, because the beginner mind that makes you try things because you don't know.
Yeah.
So it will help you try to do stuff, and the beginner's mind is also, you're curious and you want to know more, and you try things that maybe you haven't tried before. You know?
So we have to do this permanently.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and listen to ourselves, because mostly as immigrants, I think we do have a background of a lot of
Exactly.
stuff. We do have most of us. Um, I think almost all the artists that I know, they were artists before they arrived here,
Yes.
and how much they lost or how much we have lost, and we have to go back and start from zero. So that also affects into your security.
Exactly.
Well, I thought about it. Like, I'm talking to you, I'm reflecting a lot, but it's that also. It's like, of
That's why
course.
I'm asking. That's why I was asking you. Do you think
uh,
this insecurity it's because we don't live you don't live in your country, or so I think this is something that it's happening like that.
yeah, because like for me, I already had grants, I already had stuff, and I was already having a career, and then I arrive here and everything goes like also, you have to learn other languages, you have to learn other cultures, you have to start all over, and this thing of starting from zero, it's not true, because you don't start from zero. Like,
Exactly.
and what do you do with all the other stuff that you have done
You
before?
cannot erase it. It's just with you all the time. You know it's your knowledge.
Yeah, and so you feel unvalidated. Like, a lot of times you feel like, you know, and in a point you do believe it. It's like if you're not listened, if you're not seen, if where you're trying to say something and people don't believe what you're saying, or don't you come from a
Yeah.
third country, or you come from a country that's, for sure you don't know. So yeah, of course, I think you're completely right. It affects you a lot. Affects
Yeah.
you. It's very hard, and you have to be very persistent. um I do have to say that one of the things that was good for me is, like, I actually think I'm very useless in other stuff.
Why do you say that?
I don't know what to do anything else. It's like I'm actually very bad with numbers, or I
So,
just, it's kind of like, oh, like, I don't think I'm a good cook, kind of like I cooked and everything. But you know what I mean? It's like, I was like, man, I'm not very good at other things. Like,
but that means you know that you are good in what you are doing, and this is something. This is important. So
I
you
don't
have to
think
trust yourself.
thank you. That's great. But what I think is, this is the only thing that I need to do. This is the only thing that I know how to do. I don't know how good yeah, because then I also go in my insecurity. I don't know if I'm good, but it's the thing that I have been doing all my life. Like, I've been doing theater since I'm 11. It's like,
So it's a lot of time. So because you don't know what to do in other stuff and you are doing only this, for sure you are good in what you are doing. I
thank
saw
you.
what you are doing and I guarantee that you are good. So
Thank you so much,
you
Aurelia,
just
so
have to
much.
trust yourself.
Yeah,
The
kind of.
message that you are telling to the next generations, actually, it's for you too.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you tell other generations, you have to tell it yourself first.
Yes, yes. Do
Yes.
you think? Do you believe in something that can change the world?
Kids?
Well, kids.
I don't know. I hope so. Well, there are big changes. Like, I always say this, well, not always. Like, one of the things that I never thought it was going to happen was the Me Too movement.
Hmm.
And I think it was because in a point, all women started, mostly when everybody started writing in Facebook and stuff, Me Too, Me Too, this happened to me too. I thought, for me, it's still something that I'm very happy that I saw. I never thought that that was going to happen. I never thought that women will have rights, and all this sexual harassment and all this kind of stuff in work and life and streets, and
Hmm.
mostly I come from a very much country, was going to
Yeah,
happen. And for me, it's like super important.
I imagine. Yes.
So the new generations are growing with this. Also, the respect of being who you want to be, being like, being respectful to transgender and pronouns and all that. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. So I think, yeah, I think they are already doing it. I
So.
think they are already doing it. I was working with kids,
Hmm.
and I had two kids that they were they, you know, no gender.
Yes.
And I thought it was amazing. I thought that doing the opportunity to, why do I have to choose how do I have to dress, or because I don't even think at that age it's not even sexuality, it's just who you are. So why do I have to dress a certain way, or why do I have to cut my hair in a certain way, or why do I have to talk in a certain way, or why do I have to behave in a certain way? And having the opportunity and the liberty to find
Yeah.
who you are. So that, I think, yes, I think that's important, the opening, and that we have to be more open and more understanding, and have a lot more empathy for people that are different,
So,
different as immigrant or sexuality or everything.
in one word, acceptance would save the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it also goes into be curious, like
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
empathic. And I think the other one will be also be empathic, like try to feel how the other feels,
Yes.
even sometimes you're not going to, because there's certain stuff that will be completely, we were like, I never will know exactly what a Black woman will feel because I'm not Black, but I can be empathic and try to understand
Exactly.
the feeling of rejection. As I said, as an immigrant, it is very hard, but also shows you a lot. You learn a lot of stuff that before you didn't know.
Yes.
It was not in your, because you were in your country, and then it really makes you a lot more empathic. It really makes you grow more as a human. And even that it's very hard, it does help you have a different vision. Even like this vision that we were saying, that you're not from here and from there. So it also gives you the opportunity to sometimes look from the outside.
To explore this, yes.
And be able to see from outside, and liberty, freedom of, as long as you're not hurting somebody else.
Yes.
Or any animal, anything living, because also living, hurting animals.
Living creature.
Yeah. It's, yeah. So I do think it's going to be different. They're going to have other problems, but it's mostly climate.
Yes. But the change the world will change in a good way.
I hope so, but then you see the war, and then you go, my God, it seems like, and certain stuff, I think we are going somewhere, but also then you go, but we have a war, right? There's still the war going.
Yes.
And a lot of people are dying, and there's still racism, and there's still a lot of other stuff that we haven't figured out. So we still have a lot to work on.
We will work on a lot of things. Flavia, thank you so much for your presence. It was such a great pleasure to talk with you. I want to continue this, but
It's 2 hours.
yes, because it will be hours and hours. So I just proposed to meet one day and talk at one coffee. I don't know, and discuss our stuff. But for the podcast
We should. I really need it. Like I have to say, I realized how much I closed. I was closing, and then I closed more during the pandemic. So I do want to take that as we have to do that.
We will do it. And for now, in the name of my subscribers, in the name of my listeners, I thank you so much for your stories. It was amazing. I'm going to put some links in the comments for those who want to talk with you or see your work. And that's it. Thank you so much, Flavia.
And we have to work together.
We will do it. Yes, because we are immigrants, and we are our grants. I'm my grant.
I'm my own grant.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Flavia. Thank you. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye. Bye. This is for today. I hope you enjoyed the stories and the discussion that we had. We have to share our experience, because like this, everybody can learn. Thank you so much for listening to us. Be prepared for the next excellent story. Until then, all the best. Keep dreaming. As Flavia said, believe in yourself and continue. See you soon. Bye-bye.